Hello everyone, it's Linda from Linda's Ease in Arlington Heights, Illinois. And today I have a very quick little video for you to show how to join the binding of your quilt. Now you can see the quilt behind me. It's really a beautiful, very modern quilt, and it's called Foxy Roxy. I think we have one or two kits left. We try to make up at least 20 when we do them, but they go very quickly. So if you're looking for one of these, I would call right away. What's really fun about this is the binding that was around the edge is a narrower binding. Again, people ask me all the time, what size binding do I use? I like a 2-inch, but some like a 2 1/4, 2.5. Some even like a little less than 2 inches so that you can have a real fine little binding. It just depends on what you're doing. This is just a sample to show you. It's going to be a little candle mat that I could put little candles on for winter. It's got kind of sparkly, snowy colors in it. And what I've done on this particular one, because this is actually the back side, this is the front, and I have sewn this on to the back side, the regular binding. I've done the mitered corners. You've seen in my video before how easy that is to do with your little stiletto, and I go off the edge, go around it, and do it all the way around. Then, and I've actually pressed this one side because I wanted you to see what I'm going to do when I'm finished. But I have to join these two ends. And this is the thing that everybody always says, oh, I got to go look it up again. I'm not sure how to do it. You always want to leave a couple inches, 8 to 10 inches at least, sometimes 12 inches in here for you to be able to do this. And this is a real quick and simple and easy thing. Now watch what I'm going to do. This helps. I think it's much easier. I'm turning this around, and it's much easier, I think, for you to see it. Anytime that we're going to do this joining, I find it's much easier to work with when the fold is toward you. You can do it the other way, but it is much easier, and I find it causes less mistakes. And ask me how I know that. Okay, so what I've done here, I have the one piece that's completely finished. And now I'm going to take the other piece. It's cut off here. I don't have any more of that side. So now I'm going to take the other piece over. Now, how do I get it, like I said, so that they are joined perfectly? The way that I do this is I turn the other piece over here. I'm going to get rid of all this extra tail stuff and nicely smooth it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut a piece of the tail off. Doesn't matter how much, because we're not going with the piece that you cut off. It's the width of the binding that is important. And remember, on this one, I did do a 2 1/4 inch because I wanted you to be able to see it a little bit better. I do like a 2-inch. I find it's easier for me to work with, but let me move this out a little so you can see where I'm starting. Now, I put the width of this binding, and I line it up with this edge right here. You see how that's? Now, one of the key things, and I bring it over to here, I'm going to cut on this side. I've had people tell me that they forget and they cut right here. And then what's going to happen? You're not going to have any overlap, and you're not going to be able to join those edges properly. So again, let's start again. I'm going to do this 2 or 3 times for you because I think it's really important to see this. I'm bringing it over here. I cut off a piece. The width of the binding is what I want to use, which is this width. It's 2 1/4 inches. And then I'm going to cut the overlap on the overlap side, not the piece that's real close to the edge. We definitely don't want that. And then I'll just go ahead and give it a nice little clip. Oh, that piece we can get rid of. And now we have an overlap, as you can see, and the overlap is the width of the binding. The next step is really the key thing. You do not want to twist your edges. This is very important that you don't twist these, because if you twist them in any particular way, that binding will be twisted when you go to put it back on. So what we're going to do, and sometimes it's easier, I've heard people say they make it look like an A. That sometimes helps. What I'm doing here, though, I'm going to put it down on the board so you can see it, and I always put the right sides together. And the A, I think, is an important, it's just a visual for you to go from. You can see here's the one leg of the A and here's the other egg. and then you want to go across the A with the line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these pins, and I encourage you to do this. I don't usually do this anymore, but some of you, if you haven't done it for a while, I definitely would encourage you to do it. And then just pin that. It's you're crossing the A. You haven't turned anything, and then just make sure you've done it properly. Now, of course, we're going to trim all that out of there. But see how nice that works and how smooth? And now I'm just going to sew along this edge once I've sewn this biased edge. So let's take this over to the machine. Now, here's another thing that you could do too. I'm going to take these pins out and show you because I think it's an easy way. Remember, really two key things. Right sides together. And I'm going to put one little pin in here. And I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to go from one edge to the other because I want to go right off of the edge. And I'm going to go ahead and mark it. And then that way I know exactly, that's why I usually like to leave it out a little bit so I know exactly where that point is. On this one you can see it pretty easily. And we're just going to mark that with this. I love this marker because you can take the back off and erase it when you've not put it in the right spot. So you can check it again, make sure it is right at the right point, which it is. Check this again to make sure that the A is here and you're crossing the A, and it does work. It's going to be, it's not twisted. Then I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and I'm going to go ahead and do a straight stitch right across from one edge to the other. So let's do this. This is the Bernina 720. I have a 790 too that I'm sewing on. And you can see normally what I do, let me bring that needle back up and I want to show you. This is just a real good way to start your piecing and any of your sewing. Put that needle down first and then make sure you put that fabric, kind of push it right up to the needle, not beyond the needle, but right up to the needle. Then when you start sewing, that's never going to pull on you. It's never going to catch. You're not going to have those bird's nests that you see some of the times. And again, I want to go right down to that edge. I'm going to take that off. I have my little circle over there to throw my pins on. And I'm going to go right off the edge. Okay. And I can cut that, or I can take my scissor and just give it a little clip. Now let's go back to the board here where you can see what we've done again. I'm going to get rid of these little pins that are moving around here. Now let's flip it back and you can see perfectly sewn. However, what we need to do now is get rid of these little extra ties, so these little tails, and you've seen me do this before. I cut it about 1/4 inch. Then I take it over to the Laura Star iron. Now, you've got to be very careful when you're doing these that you don't give it too much steam. You don't want to stretch it out. You could just take your seam press and, do it with your finger too. I just like to open it a little bit with my finger, take it over to the iron, and then press it on the wrong side and then this side, and then sew it along, and voila, we've got a nice little table mat this is the right side of this table mat. Remember, I was doing this on the wrong side, and I'm going to turn this, and I'm going to show you in another video how to finish this off. Let me show you 2 other table mats that I think will help. Like I said, I want to, this is actually a placemat. I want you to see how important it is when you're doing this particular tail. Like I said, I like the folded edge next to me. Now this is actually the right side. This is going to fold over to the wrong side when I'm finished, and I'm going to hand whip this one. It's a little more decorative, and I think it'll look pretty that way. But you can see I've done, let's take these tails out. I've got the A crossed, you can see. But what I'm going to do, and it doesn't matter which side you cut first. You could cut this side first and then put that one over or whatever. But since it's easier for you to see, I think I'll do it like here. And I've left about 12 inches, 10 to 12 inches in between because it's easier to pull it up when I'm doing that. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to give this a little quick clip, make it nice and straight. You're going to take your binding, it's folded in half. This is actually a 2¼ inch. Yeah, I think it is a 2¼ inch. Now, how do we know how to get this even? You tell me now. I think you know by now. I'm going to cut a little tail off at the end. It doesn't matter how long or how short, because you're not going to use the width. The length. You're going to use the width of the binding. So how wide the binding is. Could you take a ruler and measure it? Sure, you could do that too. And you're going to start where the cut edge is underneath. You're going to measure from there over to here, over to the end. Now remember, where are you going to cut? Let's get these folded right. You're not going to cut on this side. You're going to cut on the overlap side. Always take your time doing this because it is very easy to make a mistake. I'm going to go ahead and just clip that. That's off of here. Now you can see, what am I going to do? I'm going to make another A. But what are the two things that are really important? Right sides together and do not twist your ties. So you can see I'm putting it down here. I'm putting it over here. I'm going to put a couple of pins, and I would do this, like I said, even if you have been doing this a long time. You know, how many times it takes us quite a while to finish some of those quilts, and do we always get them bound right away? Probably not. So I'm going across the A, so you have to keep that one up there so it makes a line across the A, and you can fold it, and you see it's going to be perfect once it's pressed and those ties come out of there. Let me show you one more. Get rid of these ties. And again, I would take it to the Laura Star. You're not going to do that right now, but I would take it to the Laura Star because it would give you a much better press before you do anything. Again, I have this one underneath. This one I'm doing from the wrong side because this binding is going to go to the right side, and this is where I'm going to do a decorative stitch that I'm going to show you in another, like I said, another video, like the little table, the little candle mat that I was doing in the red and the black. So again, how do we get, you know, we've cut this off, how do we get it so it lines up perfectly? We're going to overlap it. Let's take these pins out. And what are we going to do? Let's cut a little piece off. Doesn't matter again how long you cut it, because what's going to matter? The width of the binding. So you're going to take this, looks like this is probably a 2-inch, and we're going to take it from here to here. That's the width of the binding. You're going to cut on what side? The overlap side, not where it's evenly matching up, otherwise it won't match up. And we're just going to cut it. And there we go, voila. And again, you know what we did, you wanted to check it, now we know it's done, but when you go to sew it, make sure that you bring that A up. You can see here's an A here, here's an A here. These are not twisted, and you're going to sew across the A. So hopefully that has given you a little bit of a ease of and comfort that you know how to finish off bindings, and you can do this so quickly on table mats, on quilts, on many things. So join us on our one of the next videos when I show you how to finish off the other edges. There's a couple of ways. Thanks so much everyone for joining us. I really appreciate, and my entire staff does, for all of the support you're giving us during these videos. You have a wonderful day or wonderful night, and we'll see you next week and Thursday morning. Thank you, everyone.